According to its latest earnings report, Microsoft's security business is growing faster than any other major part of the company. But can it be trusted to keep your data protected? And we've got lots more news stories this week, a hot tip I want to show you with Microsoft Loop in Teams, and I'll be highlighting a couple of new how-tos on the Petri IT knowledge base. So the first story this week coincides with Microsoft's quarterly earnings report. In January 2021, Satya Nadella revealed for the first time that Microsoft's security business is worth $10 billion, and that came as a big surprise to many analysts. A year later, that had only increased by another $5 billion. So this week's quarterly earnings report, a lot was focused on all of the different parts of the company, and security is growing faster than any other part of Microsoft's business. Now, why is this important? There are a couple of reasons. The first is this is really giving investors new confidence in the company. It's also a big competitive advantage for Microsoft's Azure cloud over AWS. Now, that's partly because Microsoft has traditionally owned the enterprise space. And while AWS had a really great start in the cloud, Azure has really caught up, and enterprises tend to look at Azure as a safe bet because they trust Microsoft to deal with their enterprise computing needs, and they're able to provide what they see as a security advantage over the offerings that Amazon has. But Microsoft has been doing a really good job, not only with its Azure cloud services, but also with Windows. Microsoft Defender for Business was made free as part of some Microsoft 365 subscriptions recently as well. They've also got things like Azure Sentinel, which is really a cloud native alternative to Splunk. So it ingests all of the security logs from all of your different systems. And Microsoft has, I believe, something like 10,000 or 15,000 customers for that service already. So the question is, will Microsoft be able to maintain this momentum? So while all parts of the company grew, or at least all major parts of the company, maybe it's not realistic that the security division is able to grow this quickly every time Microsoft releases one of these reports. But nevertheless, with the acquisition of smaller companies, Microsoft should be able to maintain some growth, at least in the security sector, even if not quite as quickly as of late. So what do you think about this? Do you trust Microsoft with your organization's security? Or is it a bit like letting the fox guard the henhouse? So please let me know in the comments below. So while we're talking about security, there have been a couple of other things going on this week. So Microsoft announced a partnership between its Azure security services and an Israeli-based company called Red Button. Now what Red Button does is it provides really independent testing of cloud infrastructure against distributed denial of service attacks. And this will basically be an add-on to the denial of service and security features already built into the Azure cloud. And Microsoft has said that this really provides independent testing for customers because, of course, they don't always want to rely on the inbuilt tools. And it's worth noting that Red Button is also a partner with AWS, so it's not exclusive to Azure, but nevertheless, this is a really good partnership for those companies that need that kind of independent verification of their cloud infrastructure security. And in more security news related to Microsoft, the Emotet malware is back again in force, and this is because now they're starting to use PowerShell to basically infiltrate Windows devices. So previously this family of malware was basically using Office macros to infect Windows, but in April Microsoft announced the launch of a default change for its Office applications where they would be blocking all macros by default. Finally. So of course that isn't necessarily rolled out to everybody yet, but in preparation the hackers of course are changing their tactics as well. Okay, if macros are going to be blocked by default, then we're going to do some more investigation about how we can live off the land and infect Windows devices, and so we'll use PowerShell instead. Now something that I know a lot of people have been waiting for a long time is the ability to switch between multiple accounts when you're using the Microsoft 365 web apps in a browser. So Microsoft announced this week that this change is finally starting to roll out. It won't be with everybody until sometime in June, so don't be surprised if you don't see this feature yet. But basically you'll be able to switch accounts without having to do silly things like open an application in private session, or create another profile in Chrome or Edge or whatever browser you're using. So this will be welcome. It's not going to be available in all of the Microsoft 365 web apps by the time this is generally available across all tenants in June, but Microsoft has promised that they're going to add this to a longer list of web apps in the future. And this is something that might catch you out. So if you have a Microsoft 365 tenant and a subscription, of course, Microsoft is changing what I believe to be the default setting for the channel where your installed, desktop suite apps and other features, I believe as well, update. And Microsoft has kind of craftily announced this in a roundabout kind of a way this week by saying, if you don't do something, if you don't change something within your 365 tenant very soon, all of your installations are going to default to the monthly enterprise channel. So instead of just getting feature updates twice a year to all of your apps, they're going to be happening every month. I think this is probably actually a good thing, that they should just update every month. And if you want them to update less frequently, then you should opt out of that. Now, from Microsoft's point of view, they are arguing, well, this helps to keep people all on the same version of Office. It helps with collaboration. You have less compatibility issues if everybody's running the same version. And I think, well, okay, not a bad change, but don't get caught out by this. If you want to stay on that semi-annual release, then make sure you go and configure this in your tenant. This doesn't apply to security updates, of course, so even if you're on that semi-annual release, then of course you get an update every month anyway, but they just contain the security patches without any feature updates. But that is going to change by default by the end of May. If you're a small business and you're looking to maybe get on board with Microsoft 365, purchase some subscriptions, then Microsoft says that it's going to be offering a free one-on-one consultation service for small businesses. So basically, this is a 1-hour consultation that you can get for free. It's pre-sale support, not technical support. So this means they're giving you advice about what the services can do and how they can help your business. And it's also going to include a free 30-minute product training session if you want. And this offer is available to businesses in the US, in the UK, in Australia and Canada. And Microsoft announced that the Build conference this year is going to be virtual from the 24th of May to the 26th, so coming up quite soon. And there's going to be market-specific content for some regions like Germany, Japan, Latin America and the UK, but we don't have a list of all the sessions yet, so stay tuned in the next couple of weeks and you should be able to access the website. You can already register, but within the next couple of weeks you should also be able to start choosing your schedule. This week on Petri, there are some new how-to articles that I want to highlight. So we've got a great new article on how to use Git Bash on Windows. So if you're involved in DevOps and you need to access Git from Windows, this is a great way to do that remotely. So basically what this tool allows you to do is to install a Linux-style Bash environment that will let you manipulate your remote Git repositories through the command line. Now, it's not restricted to just working with the Git. You can also run other bash commands and manipulate the local device and file system if you want as well. But primarily this is designed for easily working with Git and the Bash shell, but on Windows. So we have a great article on that, how you can get it installed, how you can run some popular Bash Unix style commands and do some basic Git manipulation of your repositories in Windows. We've also got a really detailed article from Mike Oti about how to customize the Windows 11 start menu and taskbar. Now, I know a lot of people are really keen on this kind of personalization, and there's a great detailed article here from Michael. You can do all sorts of things. He describes how you can remove apps, pin apps to quick access, how you can show the taskbar on multiple displays, which is a feature that Microsoft added recently. in an update to Windows 11, how you can show your accent color on the start menu and taskbar, how you can resize the taskbar. So all those things that may not be obvious to a newcomer for Windows 11, if you want to know how to do those things, then head over to that article. In this week's hot tip, I'd like to show you a feature that Microsoft released recently as part of Microsoft Loop. Now, Microsoft Loop, if you don't know, is basically a component that's available now in Outlook on the web, I think, and in Teams. And it's basically a feature within those applications that allows you to create elements that you can collaborate on in real time with other people in your team. Now, this has been available in Teams, I think, since last summer, but it's a little bit hidden. And I want to show you a new feature that they've added to this called Paragraph. So here you can see I'm in Teams. I've got my chat open with Argo. He's offline at the moment, probably sleeping as usual. But I want to add a loop component to a message, and we're going to collaborate on it tomorrow. So I can add a loop component by clicking the loop icon here, and I've got a list of loop components that I can add. Now, the new one that's been added here very recently is Paragraph. So I'm going to add that, and what this allows me to do is really add text in much the same way that I would in a Word document, but collaborate on it with my team members in real time. So there are various things you can do here. So let's have a meeting with Argo tomorrow, and we're going to discuss something here, the minutes and schedule, let's say. So I'm going to do that. And I can type here, just as I would in any other document, of course. But there are all sorts of formatting things that you can do here, just like, you would type in a document in Word. And there are a couple of ways that you can access the formatting. So one way is to right-click anywhere and blank space, and you get all of these formatting options. So for instance, you can create headings, you can change, the style, whether it's bold, italics, underline, you can indent text, and you can do that with the shortcuts at the top here, or from the menus, you can insert links and even comments. So for instance, I could just select that text and I could set it to bold. Now, one of the interesting things here, there's another way to do this, and it's very much like Notion, if you're familiar with that. If you type a / like this, you then get the option to insert a table, to @mention a person, or, insert a date. So let's @mention Argo. There he is. So I can put him into here, and he'll get the opportunity to see this, of course, when he wakes up from his beauty sleep. So other things I can do, I can insert a table, and that's great, if we want to represent some information here. And, this is, a feature that Microsoft has slipped into Microsoft Loop, but I think it's, really quite powerful and, gives you that collaboration experience that otherwise you would have to go into Word for, but inside, Teams. Now, from Microsoft's side, they say, well, this feature should help you to collaborate on documents and ideas, and it should reduce the number of meetings that you need in order to complete any given collaborative task that involves a document like this. If you'd like to see more of these weekly news roundups, hot tips and highlights from the Petri IT knowledge base, then please subscribe to the channel. And if you found the video useful, please click like, because that really helps us to get this video seen by more people on YouTube. But that's it from me for this week, and I'll see you next time.